days until Election Day. You are the ultimate jury. Something pretty remarkable happened. For the very first time since being tapped by Joe Biden to serve as his running mate, Kamala Harris tonight was forced to answer serious questions about her track record, her past comments, and, yes, her frightening socialist agenda. And thanks to the corrupt media mob, which is all in on Team Biden, Senator Harris has never been asked to seriously address any controversial issue. Like, for example, the time that Senator Harris said that she believed the sexual misconduct allegations against Joe Biden, or the time that she accused Joe Biden of coddling the reputation of segregationist. Those questions still need to be asked. Or the time that she all but called Joe Biden a racist on a primary debate stage and said she wouldn't be a senator if the people he praised had had their way. Or the time that, in fact, it came up often, she co-sponsored the radical Green New Deal in the Senate. Or the time she wanted to ban red meat, plastic straws, ban oil, gas, and yes, she said it, Joe has said it many times, we'll prove it in a minute, fracking. Or the time, by the way, she called for gun confiscation via executive order if Congress didn't act the way she wanted. And let's not forget the time that she publicly supported court packing. By the way, she again tonight refused to answer that question. I don't think that's going to go over well. Or the time that she smeared Judge Kavanaugh, that was brought up tonight, and tried to ruin his life. Or the time that she supported Medicare for all, or the time that she supported taxpayer-funded health care for illegal immigrants, or the time that she compared law enforcement to the Ku Klux Klan, in other words, ICE agents, or the time that she supported a bail fund that got rioters and even accused child rapists out of jail, like she did in Minnesota, or the time she praised Los Angeles for slashing the police budget, in other words, defunding the police. Senator Harris has never been held accountable for any of this, and with just 27 days to go, we got our first insight into all these questions she has never answered. That was until Vice President Micke Pence, he took matters into his own hands. And the vice president started by holding the Biden-Harris campaign responsible for plagiarizing what was the president's plan in response to COVID-19. Watch this.
The reality is, when you look at the Biden plan, it reads an awful lot like what President Trump and I and our task force have been doing every step of the way. I mean, quite frankly, when I look at their plan that talks about advancing testing, creating new PPE, developing a vaccine, it looks a little bit like plagiarism, which is something Joe Biden knows a little bit about.
And as you can see, it was pretty obvious all throughout the evening. The entire 90 minutes, Senator Harris was very uncomfortable when confronted with the truth. At times, she could do little more than make these awkward smiles and just shake her head. And clearly, she blatantly lied over and over again. Let's start with her lie tonight about taxes. Watch this.
He says he's smart because he can take advantage of the tax code. And he does take advantage of the tax code. That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts. And I'm going to eliminate those tax cuts.
The truth and the fact is, Joe Biden has been very clear. He will not raise taxes on anybody who makes less than $400,000 a year.
He said he's going to repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
Well,
I'm speaking.
It'd be important if you said the truth. Joe Biden said twice in the debate last week that he's going to repeal the Trump tax cuts. That was tax cuts that gave the average working family $2,000 in a tax break every single year. Senator,
that is
that's the math.
absolutely.
I guess the media mob will try and protect both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but she was caught outright lying through her teeth about the issue of fracking, and we've got all the video evidence. Take a look.
I am not banning fracking. Let me say that again. I am not banning fracking. No new fracking.
Would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated and no more subsidies for either one of those.
So first of all, I will repeat, and the American people know, that Joe Biden will not ban fracking. That is a fact.
Will you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking your first day in office, adding the United States to the list of countries who have banned this devastating practice?
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah.
I'm in favor of banning fracking. Joe Biden, I'll eliminate fracking. They said it. Now both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are on record denying their own words. And by the way, following those remarks, Ocasio-Cortez Well, she sent a very stern reminder to Kamala Harris on Twitter, writing, "Fracking is bad, actually." And meanwhile, when Senator Harris was finally forced to answer for Biden's cozy relationship with China, Harris tried to dodge that question. Take a look at this.
Joe, I think he said it quite well. He says, foreign policy, it might sound complicated, but really it's relationships. So just think about it as relationships. And so we know this in our personal and professional relationships. You got to keep your word to your friends. Got to be loyal to your friends. People who've stood with you, got to stand with them. You got to know who your adversaries are and keep them in check.
Now, the vice president was nicer than I would have been, because we know that Joe is loyal to his friends. Like the people in Ukraine, where zero experience Hunter made millions of dollars, or China, where zero experience Hunter got a $1.5 billion deal with the Bank of China. I guess that's loyal to your friends. Now, why on earth would Senator Harris or Joe Biden ever have anything negative to say about China? After all, Joe Biden has been sucking up to China for decades, and that's likely the reason that zero experience Hunter has been lining his pockets with sweetheart deals connected to the Communist Party of China for years, and shopping sprees thanks to Chinese nationals, or Ukrainian oligarchs, or Russian oligarchs, as we've only recently learned. And according to that U.S. Senate report that was put out by Charles Grassley and Senator Johnson, Hunter Biden actually opened a joint bank account with a Chinese national. Guess why? To fund a $100,000 shopping spree for members of Hunter's family. He also reportedly scored lucrative multi-million-dollar business deals with foreign nationals associated with China's Communist Party and also China's military. And during the Obama administration, State Department officials, they were openly worried that Hunter's problematic activities and business dealings create serious counterintelligence and extortion concerns. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just guessing, maybe that's why for the first part of, let's see, through January, the end of January, when the president put the travel ban in effect 10 days after the first identified case of corona in America, Joe Biden called it xenophobic and hysterical and also fear-mongering. Why? Maybe he wanted more deals for Hunter. But tonight, by far, the most cringeworthy, disturbing moment of the debate came when Kamala Harris did everything she could do not to answer whether or not she or Joe Biden support packing the U.S. Supreme Court, something that hasn't happened in over 150 years. We've always had 9 members on the court. Well, apparently there's a reason they won't answer. Take a look at this.
Thank you, Senator Harris. People, Susan, are voting right now. They'd like to know if you and Joe Biden are going to pack the Supreme Court if you don't get your way in this nomination.
Let's talk about packing.
You once again gave a non-answer. Joe Biden gave a non-answer.
Trying to answer you
the
now.
American people deserve a straight answer. And if you haven't figured it out yet, the straight answer is they are going to pack the Supreme Court if they somehow win this election.
This is beyond a serious topic. Why? Because we have co-equal branches of government. We have checks and balances, and whether or not all 3 co-equal branches of government will survive a potential Biden-Harris administration. And Senator Harris thinks that she can just punt? Well, that's pretty unconscionable. What would that mean? That would mean, well, radical justices on the U.S. Supreme Court in what, perpetuity? They're going to put 11 on the court, 13 on the court? How about go for a nice even 18? That would be pretty repulsive, because what people can't get done legislatively or can't get done at the ballot box by convincing the American people, they would hope activist justices do from the Supreme Court. The American people deserve an answer. And given, by the way, her dodgy remarks, you better believe that that certainly is on the table. And by the way, just like getting rid of the legislative filibuster and pushing for statehood for Puerto Rico and D.C. if they get elected, more questions they need to answer. Because if elected, that would mean a Democratic majority in the U.S. Senate, probably in perpetuity. That means this would be the most radical, destructive administration in American history, and they don't want to 27 days outside of an election be honest and forthright and transparent with the American people. If you do care about constitutional order, if you care about co-equal branches of government, if you care about checks and balances, if you care about something called the Bill of Rights, your freedoms, your pursuit of happiness, well, vote like your country depends on it, because apparently it does in 27 days.